Right, I'm ready. Trustee Wilna, absent. Trustee Henderson?
Here.
Trustee Hernandez? Trustee Hoffman, absent. Trustee Eno? Trustee Vela, absent. Trustee Vettis? And student trustee Cordova will not be attending. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So thank you everyone for attending. We have quorum, so we're going to get our meeting started. It is 9:13. We're going to begin our meeting with the flag salute. VP Eno. To the flag of the United States of America, to the republic which is stands one nation under God, indivisible. Thank you so much. So we have no request to speak on agendized items, but we do have one speaker that would like to speak on non-agendized items. So if there is no objection, I'd like to invite the speaker to speak now versus having them wait until the end of our meeting. No objection. There are no objections to the change in the agenda. Mr. Atkins, you have 3 minutes.
Okay, thank you. Good morning, members of the board. My name is Benson Atkins. I am I am one of the students at Los Angeles Southwest College as senator on the ASO. Also, I am the Region 7 SSCCC treasurer. The reason why I'm here today is I have provided member packet. This is the ongoing problem that I've been having with my college regarding my grade change. From December 18, 2023, all the way up to January to yesterday, I had took my finals at Southwest College, my math class. To make a long story short, my instructor had made a mistake, and I brought it to his attention. He did correct it, and I'm so happy about that. But the main thing, I was not happy because the person that's supposed to submit it to the records, that person was on vacation from the 18th of December 2023, and she didn't do it. So I constantly sent a number of emails doing my student what I was supposed to do as a student, eliminate the chain of command. I had exhausted my chain of commands. So the next thing I had to do, I did that. I had notified my college president. You guys know my college president, and he's a wonderful person. I emailed him. He got involved. Then when he got involved, I got an email reply back from him. It was in your packets that I had provided for you. Then he forwarded to Dr. Asfer. She's the Vice President of Student Services. I sent an email, let her know he got the email. The next thing I know, I had requested a meeting that never did. So on yesterday, I went to the college at 8 o'clock yesterday morning, and I went to records and admissions often to ask for the supervisor who's in charge of admissions and records. Got me finding out she has the paperwork ever since Monday. And if I didn't go up there and figure out what's going on, I didn't know she had the paperwork since Monday and was never processed. So I've been up there. I went to the college from 8 o'clock that morning all the way up to 9:30. Then I get an email from the person in charge of the records and admissions telling me that she had the paper since Monday and she just processed it at 9:30 on Tuesday, yesterday. So I'm sorry. Thank you. But that's why I
Thank
just
you, Ms.
wanted.
Jack. We'll have a chance to follow up.
Okay, great. Thank you. I'm
Okay.
sorry about that.
No worries, no worries. Thank you for coming. Okay, thank you, colleagues, for my colleagues that are just joining. We had, a student that wanted to speak on a non-agendized item, and we had non-agendized items scheduled for after our meeting. And so we, voted to move that up so that he could speak and not have to wait. So thank you for that indulgence. So we are gathered here today. The purpose of our board retreat is to review our board goals from 2023 that we started, and which is to review and to look into the goals that, or setting goals for 2024 moving forward. But before I pass the mic over to the chancellor, I would like to take this opportunity to thank Trustee Vella for his leadership as board president, getting this started, because we were able to accomplish quite a few of these goals. And so thank you, sir, for your leadership and your diligence and holding us all accountable for getting this work done. So at this point, I will open the floor to Chancellor Rodriguez to introduce our amazing facilitator.
Yes, thank you, Madam President, and good morning, everybody. Happy Wednesday to you all. Thank you for your support this last year as we review the 2023 goals. I think you will see a significant amount of work that's taken place and areas that we still need to continue to improve so that we can have better outcomes for the success of our students. And we'll be very open and clear about that. The board has worked with Dr. Ellen Benjamin when it reviewed its goals for the year, its mid-year goals, and now very pleased with the concurrence of the board president that Dr. Benjamin will be with us through 2024. So if you don't know who Dr. Benjamin is, she is regarded as perhaps the or one of the foremost administrators in California community college history, having most recently served for over 10 years, 11, 12 years or so as the chancellor of the Contra Costa Community College District and college president before then. So she comes with us with a vast amount of leadership, administrative, and practical experience. She now, in this new chapter, goes around the country working with boards of trustees. She is an expert on what the best boards of trustees do to position their colleges for even greater success, and particularly for the success of students who are first generation and underserved. So she takes on clients and she's very selective about that. And so we're very, very pleased that she has chosen to work with the Los Angeles Community College District. So it's been a friend and colleague, I'd say, for well over maybe a couple of decades now. So she is well regarded and well positioned to lead the discussion in this board today. And really, when we went over the agenda with the board president and all the treatments and whatnot, I think we're in for a very good discussion today. So Dr. Benjamin, on behalf of the Board of Trustees, thank you. We welcome you to this review of 2023 goals and then the Kickstart discussion for 2024. So the floor is yours and welcome.
Okay, thank you. Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
It's a pleasure to be here. Before we start going through the goals, I always like to have a little opening activity. And this one is just way too simple. But what I would like for you to do is just reflect for a moment. And Happy New Year, by the way.
Happy New Year.
Yeah, so you get to reflect on 2023. And just think for a minute about starting January 2023 to end of December 2023. What do you think was the board's most significant accomplishment in that 12-month period? And then I'm going to ask you, you can think about two things at once here, to think about what you would like to see happen in 2024? What you'd like to have as a goal to get you thinking about it? We're going to walk through 23, but I want you to think about 2023 for a minute and the accomplishments, and I'm going to list them as you share. Yes, Trustee, yes, if you're ready.
I think that the two biggest ones that stand out in my mind, I suppose, would be we passed accreditation. Really, yeah, we excelled and we did that. And I think the second thing that stands out most significantly to me is the shift in the board dynamics. You have two newish board colleagues on this board now, myself and Trustee Hernandez. And so I think with that, we were able, under past President Vela's leadership, we were able to accomplish and do a lot of great work. And so I think those are the two things that stand out in my mind.
Okay, thanks.
Well, we'll just go around. Hernandez?
I think I think that the district is starting to put together a real sort of articulated, comprehensive policy on how we address students who are experiencing homelessness or housing insecure. One is through a pilot that was really spearheaded by past President Villa and others on the board. We were able to expand the contract for a number of years, which was huge. But on top of that, I think we've really started to think about all the other things the district's been doing to address students who have housing insecurity. And we are starting to put together all of these efforts together as one sort of big comprehensive system, for lack of a better word. So I think that's really exciting.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, okay. Accreditation. So AB 1096 with regard to language. Then I'll lump student housing, basic needs, and Measure LA as kind of the planning year that occurred last year.
Good morning, and I apologize for being late. I would agree with everything that was said. I was going to actually say the work that we've done in the basic needs space, because it's not just about student housing, but we've done a lot with other support services, especially with, food insecurity. But I also do want to highlight the work that we've done with dual enrollment, because I think we've really expanded dual enrollment opportunities. Where do we have, like 20,000 students enrolled in dual enrollment? And I think that's huge. That is right in alignment with our chancellor's office and the state chancellor's vision 2030.
Trustee Bell?
I mean, I want to definitely, really highlight basic things. I think we've done an amazing job. People do that. But I do think our external affairs are unparalleled with our government relations. I think that as far as us connecting with other government agencies, entities to create partnerships, that's I think a real big thing.
Okay.
So, I agree with all of those, and my personal was just highlighting the work that we're doing around basic needs, and also to Trustee Bella's point, our legislative efforts, because that's how we got AB 1096 passed, and which is outstanding.
Okay. Feel kind of tired now. That's why you're so tired. You've been you've been doing so much. Anybody think of any others as other people were talking? This is an incredible list here. Okay, so I want you to think a minute about what you would like to do this year. What would be your emphasis for this year? If you want to continue some of these things, or is there something new on which you'd like to focus? That's even before we review these. Yes. Trustee
Yeah,
Hartman.
I mean, I think we really need to go back to the basics and focus on improving transfer rates, because I think we, I know that's not necessarily falls directly on the board, but I think the board needs to do whatever it can to make sure that we're encouraging and supporting that goal of transfer. And then maybe jump more into the workforce and economic development, career technical education space also.
What about it?
I mean, I think that like the governor has a plan now, obviously to increase those numbers. And basically that's why we're here. Community colleges are focused either on transfer or job training and career and certificates. So I think we maybe can add both of those as a goal for the board as well.
Okay.
Apprenticeships.
How about if we go around, and then that way we make sure that everybody has opportunity to speak. So we'll come back this way. Trustee Wellman, do you have any ideas for speech?
I would say that in 2024, we need to have understanding. That may or may not be clear. If we could talk a little bit. Everyone.
Say what the that is again for me. The that, and that all of these components.
Sorry about that. Did I define that okay?
I think so.
Okay. Then the third one would be defining our market. So if you looked at whenever we were founded in 1969, probably our market is 1,000% different, right? What I mean by that, what is our target what is our understanding of who our client base is, right? In terms of ethnicity, linguistic, age, disability, do we truly understand? I mean, it's difficult because we're a large district, But I know as we're doing our outreach, I still don't, and we're doing some of that in our in language in terms of understanding what some of our target, and we've changed some of that, but I haven't seen that across the board in terms of a true market analysis.
Thank you. All right.
VP Hernandez?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of good books on here already. I think we will be defining our housing policy as it goes forward, which is really important. And that's already in the works. So, but that I think will be the,
So, excuse me, Chancellor, is there a housing policy?
it's in development.
Okay.
It's in
okay.
development. So it's currently happening.
So finalization of that.
Yeah, that will be a big milestone and benchmark, and that's going to happen, which is exciting and will be a big thing for 2024.
Hello. I think to add to this great list already, I think some of my concerns, I guess on the trustee level is definitely, our finances as we move out of held harmless. And then as well, from a personnel perspective, the capacity of our, the folks, from the chancellor all the way down to ensure that as we transition to, build housing, we have the ability from a staffing and expertise, I guess, perspective, just capacity. I think that's always, I think we always want to do our best to serve students, but sometimes we're spread really thin in our abilities. And so just to ensure that there's enough support at all levels to execute the wonderful ideas that we're thoughtfully planning for the students.
Okay.
I kind of feel like that's part of our job as trustees, to ensure
Mhm.
that they have the ability to, execute or that we're providing enough support. Because I think, with the housing coming down the pipeline, it's very thoughtful. We're bringing in all stakeholders. And so, in execution, we just want to make sure that we can
Mhm.
properly do it. We have the fund, we have the means, we have the minds.
Mhm.
Now just in the actual execution, if it's doable and sustainable.
Yes, it's good. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Trustee Barris, sorry.
I would suggest that we sort of support our board committee / ad hoc committees. And for ad hoc committees, staffing and some ad hoc committees may actually push our staff to the local data, have a need to draw from.
Mhm.
And so what do we do? If it's an area that we wish to explore, how do we explore what we're lacking? What are the approaches? How do we structure? But I think we need to look at that serious way. Whether out get to year when ongoing conversation, just sort of overall with ad hoc committees and what we do there.
Okay.
Secondly, I sort of want to pivot to something that was a presentation in our separate draft. Sort of a trustee goal to see that that we can see training happen and measured in a robust way across the district. It can happen amongst the trustees ourselves, that it can switch from something that is sort of discussed to something that is measured, that's something that can become potentially a policy, it becomes a requirement of employment, if that's a new policy to be explored, but something that becomes more of a robust conversation. That's I think many of our employee groups have raised it as a concern, but to sort of act
as a board priority and significant to-do list. And I think I would put that definitely at the top of our list of conversation.
Does that capture it? Professional development is what?
I'm just going to point out sexual harassment. It's been raised as a singular focus, but I think when you say improve training, I think there's also issues with, at least in terms of this board, we've had, and thank you to the board president, vice president, we've had some Brown Act training, but I know we've had some challenges with this board to understand what it means to deal with confidentiality and disclosure issues. And so I think we just have to continue to reinforce that and know that there's some level of respect that has to happen, and following the law that has to happen that didn't happen last year. There's huge lapses. And so these kinds of things have to be omnipresent, have to be part of our ongoing training, ongoing process that get reinforced on a regular basis. So, but sexual harassment is across the board. Trustees, to the administrators, to the faculty, to just our whole scenario. I think the last public presentation didn't demonstrate that it was sort of well positioned to see it occur in a comprehensive way. So, and the last, I think I would sort of just put in a broad way is this is going to be the first year in several years that that the state is predicting a budget setback, or step back, I should say. And while schools seem to be protected in the governor's opening sort of conversation with the legislature, to understand like where we're at, and I think it's been mentioned maybe once or twice in terms of sort of the approach, but I think I want to say this from the other side of it, to sort of to look at how there are revenue generation opportunities. To we have always been tremendously reliant on the state of California for how revenues come forward, and every once in a while, like it's just easy when it's coming, and when it's not coming, to understand that there are probably a few strategies to think about to consider how there's other funding streams to either explore or to bring to.
I think all of these are really good. I do think we need to strengthen our student services, and what I mean by that is last year there was a lot of what is the district doing, not just each college, in regards to courses, in regards to how students are going through the process, technology-wise, to enroll, people getting kicked out of courses. And we expect our colleges to handle that, but how can we help as a district to just really streamline students being able to be successful, which, kind of goes into Trustee Hoffman's transfer, goals. So I know we're in the works, but just streamline the whole experience for our students to be able to, I think, with technology, I think it's, I think we can really make a difference, that people should be, the district colleges should be the colleges of choice for LA County. Because we have the resources, and so there should be no reason why someone who is in Southeast LA is going to, no offense to the other colleges, but, LA County should have us as their colleges of choice. And so I think one way of doing that is adopting technology, creating ways for students to have access to all the myriad of resources, including health, being able to use technology to tap into mental health. I know last year we piloted a mental health app, and kind of like do a wraparound electronically. And, I know we have RFPs out there to improve our business, our SAP. but I think that we can really make a big difference in utilizing technology to bring us to the future and have our students have a very seamless process to come in and out and get grab their educational needs. And I think we're getting there. I think we should focus on technology too, which we have a lot in the works. Actually, we haven't like kind of put it all in one.
Thank you for that.
Yeah.
For myself, I would like to add to the sexual harassment that Trustee Veras mentioned, just include discrimination and bullying. And also to see for us to have set goals and expectations as to what Trustee Wellman mentioned around hold harmless, what our financial situation is, but also to see some plans from our colleges around what that looks like in terms of enrollment, completion of certificate programs, and creation of programs, what that looks like in terms of sort of building capacity around student support, as VP Eno stated. And also prioritizing capacity building around hiring, making sure that some of our most important departments are staffed appropriately, to see some plans around all of that.
Anything else pop into your mind? Okay, it's a good list. And real current, I think, just the things that are happening right now. So that's good. Yes, Trustee Hoffman. Mhm.
I'm so sorry. Can we add something about sustainability and climate action?
Okay.
Right.
Already.
I just don't want us to lose sight. You know, we've got legislation that
To
we're
highlight.
going to try to sponsor too for a mobile climate education unit.
Is it climate change or just climate? Just everything?
It doesn't necessarily need to be like a separate goal, but it should be weaved into all of the goals that we currently have.
Mhm. So this would be a thread.
So we'd be pulling from our current sustainability resolution.
Is there a policy on sustain? Yeah, I'm sure you have one. Yes. Okay.
I just want to clarify on the hold harmless component, that the presentation that ultimately is made on where we're at, that it be, because sometimes we get presentations, we get a chart that's kind of just thrown in front of us, right?
Mhm.
That chart again, just like if you're doing a business plan, where are you specifically with cash? And that and that the conversation occur with I think there's a district budget committee with labor, so by the time it gets to us, it's very clear, because my biggest worry is we're here in June of 2025, and some presentation that we did, and we're a year and a half from now. So right now we have the ability to get very clear numbers ahead of time in a very clear way that everyone understands them.
Okay, I think you're done. You look satisfied. All right, so this is a really good list. Kind of did it backward because we're gonna work with this to come up with the goals for 24. So now we're going to run through, I think you got the document in the mail, in an email, but we'll put it up and just walk through it. And you can see that a lot was done. What I like to do on these, it does no good for a board or any group to make goals and objectives and not do a status report to see how you did or where you are. Otherwise, it's just an exercise. So we're gonna go through now and just look at these. So we used, in developing these, we used goals you already had. We kind of changed the format a bit on those. So your goal 1 has to do with student success, your board goal. So we came up with what your role is in that, what actions you would take. And then that third column is the progress and some staff. Do you want to talk about how this was developed, Chancellor? Yes.
Is if we could get in 2024 a checklist of all this stuff in a very clear way that was even part as the chancellor's report, in a checklist format, right?
Okay.
To go, and you obviously, want your successes, but also, what are your challenges that have occurred? So the
Okay.
evolution of the chancellor's report, and maybe it's already doing that, I'm not saying it's that, but or just move it forward into being more, successes and challenges based on some of this, but in a very checklist kind of way that it's very clear.
Okay.
Sorry.
So, and this is just evolving because as far as I know, you haven't done goals this way in a while, right?
In a couple of years.
Yeah, so we've got this, so you're saying enhance this, you want to see it, so we're doing beginning of year like now, developing mid-year, then end of year to see how you did, and then what you do in the next year. So you're saying the checklist would be just kind of running checklist of where you are on these with the challenges and. Yes. Okay. Okay. Yeah, okay. Yes, ma'am.
An additional one that we can
Okay.
aim for. I think just continuity, I guess. I mean, not that we've not had it, but I think as Nichelle is president now, her goals as we, after this year and then the next president takes over, just to ensure that we're, continuing, I think a lot of the goals that she sets forward would
Okay.
be something also that I'd want us to be mindful of.
Yes.
Tentatively, I'm next, so I just want to make sure that that's a ongoing goal.
Yes.
So that we make sure that there's that.
They carry over to the next chair.
Yes.
And I think that's what.
Right. Yes.
Yeah,
And
right.
It's definitely happening, but just since we're documenting what
I got
we
it.
should be mindful of.
Yes.
Not that we're not doing it, but that just to make sure we kind of build that, sustain that culture. Again.
Yes. Okay. So let's look at, Chancellor, you want to tell us how this?
Happy to, and if I could comment on Vice President Nino's last comment. For example, there are some goals that have been sustained over the last several years. Enrollment is one obvious example, financial health, another example. Those have been carried forward through various board administrations, if you will. So whichever ones you want to carry forward, not whether it be student basic needs, which seems to be something of interest to the board, the financial health in a post hold harmless period, sustainability. Those tend to be the values of the institution. And then we codify those very specific activities that make those goals come alive. So makes a lot of sense to have some continuity. I would just mention that the board goals become my goals. I mean, every single one of them. It's my responsibility to position you all with the support of this district to accomplish those. So there's no disconnect. So this is an ongoing activity. It begins once we finalize the goals. I will codify several of these once you codify yours into my goals, which are presented to the board next month.
Okay.
And then we merge those, complement those along with whatever other interest the board might have for its performance goals for the year. So this is an ongoing conversation. You may recognize some of the background on, like, for example, completions. That was part of my assessment, self-assessment. So they're complementary in many ways, but also keeping in mind that while the capacity of the organization and keeping in mind the resources that are involved, some of these are time intensive, and some of these are resource intensive, and many are both, and deploy many parts of the organization. So I would say initially that the collective the accomplishments that you will see this morning is really based on a collective group of professionals that get this work actually done and whatnot. So really, it's a compliment to them. But it is complementary. That's the point that I really wanted to make. And it's ongoing. I like the idea of a checklist, a mid-year. We have a mid-year retreat. You know, where's the progress check? And then is it in progress? Is it accomplished? And what are some of the key issues related to why it's not?
Yeah, and we did that
At a
in
glance, yeah.
August.
Yeah, so we can look toward building up that document.
Okay, so let's look at it. So your first goal, of course, for any board is student success. And number 1.1, oversee district college efforts to increase student performance. And that's what I hear. You want students to reach their educational goals. And the action you said you would take was to receive and discuss with the full board all this information on degrees, certificate attainment, et cetera. And you received several different reports throughout the year. And just in this brief conversation we've had in developing your actions, I can tell that you paid attention to those reports. You know what's happening in dual enrollment and transfer and all those things. So you've done that. And based on what you've given us here this morning, I think you want to continue to receive that kind of information. Is that a correct conclusion? So that's one you want to keep. And you'll see here that included in the did this happen listing, you'll see just a whole summary of things that have happened. Any reaction to that? So dual enrollment, leveraging community partnerships, food insecurity, and transportation. Okay, yes.
And that's all fine and good, and congratulations to us. The question is, what would be helpful also in developing our ongoing goals is, what are the challenges that remain in each one, right? So,
Okay.
I mean, that I think, I mean, because we can always, and it's good that we have the positive stuff, but without the ongoing challenges or specific things that occurred that year, you know, I'm not.
Yeah, I think, and in this one, you do get some of that. Goes back to, and I'm not being defensive, I'm just trying to think of how we can, when we come back in 6 months and when we have the summer retreat, we can make sure we add something in there, because sometimes goals don't get accomplished and there are reasons. And COVID was a huge reason. So you talk about the setback in terms of the finances. COVID just set us back tremendously. You transfer, everything went down because there was such a change. So that would have been a major challenge. Can you think of in 23, the biggest challenge you might have had that might have had an impact on enrollment, since it's on the surface here? In 23, the year we're talking about, were there any major obstacles or challenges? Yeah. Oh yeah, and they do talk about that in here. Yeah, CCC applied, and there are things that are being done to kind of get that part straightened out. Yeah.
Which as an issue in terms of student services. You have students going, sometimes student services that can't access it because of language. whatever language.
Right, right.
And we still have issues with regarding disabled students.
Yeah. So those are ongoing, and you'll want to keep getting information about the progress there and the challenges and getting that done. And there's some of it written in here, and I didn't mark it, but I sure read it. Okay, and then receive reports to better understand needs and support for student parents. That was a big thing in our discussion the last time. And so it looks as though there's been some, you want to talk about it a little bit, Trustee Hoffman?
I mean, I think we still need to leave this as a goal.
Okay.
Yeah, there's been a little bit of movement, and we've had some presentations, and
Mhm.
we're doing some great things around housing partnerships with some of our student parents.
Mhm.
But really, we need to leave that as a goal and do better.
Okay, and do more.
You know,
in the-
more
yeah.
around how we schedule our classes. I still don't have a clear understanding of how students can access lactation rooms and facilities.
That's a requirement.
It is a requirement, but, you know, I do get feedback that students aren't always aware of where they're
Where they are.
located. I
Mhm.
know that there is a new law that passed that we have to have information on our website that has support for student parents, but I
Mhm.
still would like to leave that as a goal.
Definitely.
Okay, thank you.
With what Trustee Bulma said in regards to kind of finding what our market is, given that
Mhm.
it's a third of our students are parents. So I think, and then just on the housing front, you know, I know we've discussed it in our basic needs committee, but figuring out ways to align
Yeah,
our child development centers with some of our housing.
If you look in the document, under continuing students, it says that the Office of Institutional Effectiveness identified 15,868 continuing student parents based on information available in your system. And let's see. So there's a way to account for continuing so they've added a new and returning students a question to the CC Apply application.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, we advocated really hard for
Yeah,
that.
so I think they got to move on
But,
in
you know,
2023.
But it's how are we tracking? So
Yes.
it's great to have a question, but if we don't
Mhm.
track the data, so maybe we can have a goal around knowing
Okay.
who our student parents actually are. And then as we go to DC, I think we should advocate more for the C campus grants. And then something that Trustee Hernandez and I have been sort of talking about working on is, you know, we have our child development centers on all of our campuses. They don't always serve our students. Sometimes they serve more of the community than they do our actual students. And
Right.
so how can we ramp that up?
Okay. Okay.
Well, they just don't serve anyone. Their enrollment's really low.
Okay, I'll just leave that. Anything else on student parents? But there was some progress. Okay. All right, so let's go to the next one, which was study sessions and discussions on current issues of diversity, equity, inclusion, and access. So there's a whole list here of kind of information you received on this topic. Yes. Microphone.
So, you know, I'm gonna be my own Andrew right now. With regard to our childcare centers, I think we do need to look at, for instance, are they being, because they're supposed to also be part of the learning component, you know, of the college.
Right.
Like, are we fully engaging them? And also our relationship with the unified school districts, because they're taking them away also. So our market plan for early child education might have evolved to something that we don't know yet.
Okay.
Yeah, actually, they need a shift into earlier.
Yeah, earlier,
before
or
TK.
get some Head Start money in there, or just the model might be different. What,
Okay.
just to add.
Okay. All right. I'm just Okay, I have that noted. Try to reflect it when it comes back to you for sure. All right, so DEI. So you've got, you had four, let's see, 4 actions. Study sessions and discussions on current issues. And it looks like you received lots of reports there. I'm assuming you discussed some of these in your board meetings in 2023. Receive and discuss reports on individual college efforts. You got the equity reports from all the colleges, all 9 of them. And those, you have to approve those. And then review and data and reports on district and individual college efforts that acknowledge and support the multilingual and multicultural reality of the district. And you can see there, you had a report in the chancellor's goals, but there was an in-language pilot program in the winter of 2023, if you're aware of that. It's all in here. It looks like some of that happened. And then engage in community DEIA activities that support district and college efforts. Looks like lots of things were going on there. So in DEIA, do you want to, you had 4 different things here listed to be done. Looks like, just reading about it, that they were done. So what do you want to do about that in your, in 2024 on DEIA? We've got some stuff here. We've gone a little deeper, it seems to me, with the sexual harassment, discrimination, bullying, more training for the board. Anything else? We can get something from that.
Well, we did get an accommodation for our DIA efforts and our accreditation.
An accreditation report.
So, but DIA should be woven through everything all the time. So that shouldn't be necessarily a specific goal.
Okay,
Right.
you'd rather have it as a thread in each one, which
Yes.
makes sense.
Yes.
Okay. And not a separate one on that. Any other reactions on the DEI? Everybody's okay with that? Not to have a specific goal on DEI, but to weave it in every other goal you have.
I think not putting it as a header would not be a positive thing. However, you could simply point to the areas where it's at instead of everything being under DI, because everything could be DIA, right?
Mhm.
But I think not putting it down as a header might send a negative message.
Yeah,
It's just a general thought.
that's kind of the concern. If people don't see it separately, we have to make sure it's in every single, there's an action, a DEI action in every goal and objective you have. Okay, all right. I'll see how creative I can get. Yeah. Yeah, just because people are looking at it, so it could be 2 places. Yes.
Well, I think I agree so we don't get the backlash that we've, put it across everything. So maybe keep it a point here and then just reference in the text how we are also, carrying it through all of the different
Right.
things.
There
more
could
of
be
like
an
a footnote.
introduction to the goals.
Mhm.
I've done this before. There could be an introduction to the goals and a statement in there that says how important DEI is to the board and that
Mhm.
it's woven in everything
Yeah,
we do.
like to identify that the history that we've had it built into our culture
Mhm.
existed here. We got the accommodations and accreditation,
Right.
And so we continue this work and we blended through everything,
Okay.
all of our goals.
All righty.
Trustee Bell?
Yeah, I don't know if it's here, but I would like to see resources for our staff and faculty and our employees when it comes to DEIA. So like, if they want to take a course, I mean, I think for me in the LGBT community, I don't expect everyone to know about pronouns and every single thing that letter, LGBTQ plus.
Right.
But I don't know if we offer training on social justice, on, the LGBT community. I mean, I know we do sexual harassment and we definitely should formalize here that one of our goals should be that every single employee has training on sexual harassment and that it's up to date through the HR process. But also, I think we should have like kind of like where we give them an opportunity to enroll in separate courses that teach about, for example, anti-racist, bias training, LGBT, and have like a network, maybe of videos or digital media where people can click if they would like to get trained on social justice, on DEIA, because I don't think we should expect people, our employees, and even students to know this off the top of their head. And then in the future, maybe they get in trouble, right? Because they said something.
Right.
And that's part of the problem we're heading here is that we don't give our faculty or our students or our employees external additional training on some of these. And by the way, some of these are changing all the time.
Yes.
That's the problem, is that they don't stay, stagnant, right? They evolve. And so even I have trouble remembering a lot of it. So, but if we can, that would be fantastic. I don't think it would cost a lot of money to just have little videos we can click on and, suggest books. I mean, I don't know. I know it seems a little far-fetched, but
That's not, because through State Chancellor's Office, there's a program, you can go in and get all kinds of individual training on.
that's what I thought. I
certain
remember
topics.
seeing
Yeah.
something, but
Can I ask a question based on that?
Can I, oh yeah, go ahead. Yeah, to kind of add to that, we just held our advisory committee for the API to the chancellor. And I think, terminology as well and disaggregating populations even within that community and then the naming, right? I think like Trustee Vela was saying, some of the terms we use that come from the state are quite antiquated and then the new terms are constantly evolving. And so, in our meeting and discussion, there was now a plus potentially added to the APITA, community because of some of the Southeast Asian, East Asian, right, North, South, all of the, they don't necessarily all categorize themselves as Asian, right, for the A, and so the representation is not necessarily there. And so I think even, in that discussion, the plus, I was not aware of, and so just understanding that, and then I guess also adapting, but and being able to explain it or is also probably really important, and how we choose to change, names that represent the district. So, I mean, definitely we do need to revisit the API advisory, the title, but how we evolve it, I think we also need to be more culturally sensitive and adaptable, right? And then it may change over time, but those are the things I think in this new generation that we're definitely very sensitive and aware of.
Right.
I don't know if we currently post our LGBT African American Committee meetings online, but I do think that I didn't have time to go to yours, but I would be interested. Like now that you're mentioning that, I would have been interested to view it or be there, and so I think that's for me. That could be a start. Just putting on the internet our meetings on the African American, the LGBT, the Asian, the Dreamer Coalition, the ad hocs. Not because I'm trying to do more work, but because we already talk about a lot of this stuff. And I would like for the community to be able to have access to it.
Okay.
It's almost unfair that we're like, there's an LGBT community meeting on Thursday or Tuesday at 2 p.m. And if you don't log on, that's it. You missed that. But there's so much discussion about all this, about DEIA. So,
Trustee Vela?
Yeah.
The in language is recorded. Just
that's great.
The only reason I'm mentioning it is because they can be recorded and posted. So they're all there. But as an individual trustee, you have to at this point request it. So are we saying that as a matter of fact that we want them recorded? I mean, I would support that. We have to say that.
I think I would at this point. I would ask my colleagues to support me in having them all, recorded and posted. The ad hocs on the DEIA side, So thank you. I appreciate you talking about that.
Yeah, thank you for that. And trustee Hoffman, I'll let you go in a second. So if we make each of these issues a specific goal, then we're adding to the number of goals. So perhaps we come up with a goal that all of
I'll work
this
it out for you.
fits under. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Trustee Hoffman?
Thank you. Yeah, building upon what Trustee Bella was talking about, I think our colleges do a really good job of doing trainings. You know, we have Pride Centers. They usually bring somebody in to do a training, and you know, a lot of our programs do a great job of training or having professional development opportunities or flex opportunities for our faculty and staff and students. But highlighting that and bringing it to like the board level is a great idea, as long as it doesn't create, you know, an extra goal for all of us to try to achieve. But I just wanted to give credit to the colleges because I know I've attended some of their workshops or their presentations. I have faculty that work for me that also work in our district, and they've been very impressed. As a matter of fact, Pierce just did something on the SCIF, on the student-centered funding formula and how to maximize that. So I think our colleges, I want to make sure they get credit, actually do a really good job.
Mhm.
Thanks.
Just quickly want to add to that I completely agree with you. I mean, Valley College is a perfect example, the Mosaic Center. But a lot of students have come up to me that they're not ready yet to be seen as gay or LGBT. So they have to step in. Same with our Lavender graduation. It's not like a lot of the other subgroups because they're still coming out of the closet. So to have stuff online,
Mhm.
you know, for them to view an LGBT committee
Yeah.
and listen and talk about it. And, you know, I think last time in the Lavender, we had like several people who asked us not to acknowledge them by their given name because they were scared of coming out to their family. So I'm not saying that's going to be for every DIA issue, obviously, but in this one, there's that little catch, you know, to that happens.
Well, you know, we do record those meetings, but perhaps we do a better job of making students and our stakeholders aware that they can go back and view those meetings, like having the recording available or something.
Yeah, that's what I would prefer.
Yeah, that's a great idea, especially for that specific demographic of students.
Okay. Yes.
Can I add something on that point? I'm not sure that committee handles it, but also resources for parents of students who are LGBT on how to be better family members for them.
Right.
So how do you handle it? Let's say okay, you have a child who is LGBT, and how do you bridge that communication? So I think that resource might be helpful for those students even to send to folks. And also, I forgot one point over
Oh,
there.
over here. Okay.
Okay. Governance, one thing that we've talked about over the years that we haven't brought up in a while is how should we look at, for instance, how the governance structure among our colleges. For instance, we have 3 regions: Valley, Central, or South. And
City.
do we begin to clump the colleges? Do we need to? I don't have an answer. The other is our relationship with community. Should we have local colleges that have community councils to advise, right? So that discussion we started a few years ago, but it didn't go anywhere, and it may not go anywhere, but I at least wanted to bring it up.
That sounds like organizational too, in addition to the governance.
Yeah, but it's
Right. An organization of the colleges, Trustee Bueno? Or okay. Got it. Okay, thank you. All right, yes.
Just to move on, just a little side conversation. Excellent. Thank you so much. What we can do as a matter of record is when we post the agendas for any of the ad hocs and or standing and or committees, the chancellor advisory committees, we can have it on the agenda. We could say, archive meetings available at.
Yeah.
And have it linked and have it curated. And so as a matter of record,
Yeah,
that's what we do
Easy.
for our regular board meetings and whatnot. So this is an easy fix, I believe, just so we can get used to the notion that it's not just today's meeting, but also the history of how the board has acted on this
Mhm.
these very important subjects. So I think this can be done. Thank you.
So right now, we're
yes.
putting everything on board.
Yeah, we're just going through this document now to see if you want to keep any of these, and I'm listening to you, and you'll see it reflected when we come back with the draft.
Just curious. 'Cause some of the
Yeah. Yeah, so those, we just brainstormed, these were your personal ones. So we'll use these and then retain or eliminate or whatever from this list that you had for 2023, because everything was, you may want to continue some of it.
Mr. Vettis, thank you for sharing that. Wonderful. But at some point, we need to winnow and prioritize
Yes.
what the body wants to do this year over the next 12 months
Mhm.
and what it can carry forward. Because if we carry over even half of these and half of those, we'll have 30 goals this year.
Yeah,
And that
it
is
won't be,
unattainable.
I don't hear that many, Chancellor.
I do. I know this group well. But maybe in other words, whether it's an objective or a goal, they're 30 separate big actions. So I think,
Yeah.
so I just want us to be mindful.
Can we remove the special affinity graduations? I mean, we already doing good.
Well, I wasn't thinking we'd keep all this. We'd
Oh,
start,
I see.
no,
So
it'll
we're-
be a whole new
We're
list.
reviewing these.
We're reviewing
and then
these
we'll
to
go
see
back
which
and
ones
determine which
you
ones
want
we
to
wanna
carry
keep or
over.
which portion or a whole.
Yeah,
Yeah, so
because
this
we're-
is the review portion.
this is just the review portion. This, I will not start with this document because you've given me some new stuff here. I don't want you to panic, Chancellor. Okay?
No, it is this year.
Yes, 1 year. This was a lot right here. Okay. I was thinking it was gonna be smaller. Okay, anyway, let's go to 1.4, which says that this one has to do with legislation, that you would stay abreast, and you made a comment. You guys did a really good job on that. I don't know what page that is, Crystal, but it's after that, right there. So CC Apply, of course, was on there, and it's all explained here. Do you want to, so it says district utilize information from AB 928 to trigger CC Apply, standard application, various efforts and presentations. So that was your big thing. And then we had AB 1705, it's mentioned here, and then the Student Success Act. So is there particular legislation? Did we come up with any here?
We're doing that stuff.
Oh,
We began in the fall.
okay, okay.
Yes.
But you were pretty satisfied with your performance in this area last year.
Very.
Vice President Eno did.
Okay, okay.
Chancellor, do you want to highlight, maybe have it as a goal, because it is going to be a big, heavy lift in the nursing?
Yes.
Okay, so do we want to put that on there?
discussion today.
No, I know, but do we want to
Sure.
add that now?
Now, or we could do the 2024.
Okay.
That's a good place. That's a
Yeah.
significant action.
All right, and so commencement, we decided in mid-year, when we did this in August, that you had met this goal. That was, you didn't need to do anything else. We just kept it here, so you would, because it was part of 2023. But you did a great job on that one, by your own admission. So we go to, has to do with finance. Promoting efficiencies. I think we've got everything finance here already. I don't think we need to go through each one of these because they're pretty much the same. You want to go a little deeper though. You want a little more than you did last year. And then institutional effectiveness. Strengthening operational proficiency, so we had accreditation here. No.
Graduation.
Oh, okay.
Guaranteed student has seems to vary. Other people on campuses, the accomplishment was speeding through it, getting done within 2 others were like the speakers. Like I don't know, like there's maybe a dialogue about what kind, like maybe some were trying to stay within budget, some were able to go a bit more, some were in a big sports arena, some were on the spot. But
So some
I think
equity,
finding-
maybe?
trying to deliver high quality, consistent experience was sort of the reason why I advocated for last year. But I just, some people received role, some people received
Nothing.
when we had almost. So I don't know if we sort of met elevating the experience yet, but we do have, like I said, we have varying degrees of the sort of curious about.
It's the quality now you're thinking about.
Sort of quality of
Mhm.
experience. How that felt. Actually, you went to a lot of.
Yep.
But at least the ones I went to this year were different than the ones.
Okay, I thought they were elevated. Some, for example, Pierce College had its 75th anniversary, so some of it coincided with these very landmark anniversaries. So in this case, we had it at the stadium, and it was, I mean, just a few of us were there, and it was an impressive event. In speaking to the college presidents, that this was a clear goal, and we discussed that, and we're trying to enhance the student experience. It also was enhanced because we're coming actually back to in-person graduations. There for a while we didn't. So there was a real excitement. Participation was way up compared to the previous COVID years, obviously. And then just the treatments, the satisfaction, the actual giveaways, the parties before and after, and celebrations, folding in parents, the quality of the speakers. I mean, I think it did elevate, and this is certainly one that, if we don't sustain as a goal, it's certainly one that we're all very aware and want to do, to make that kind of a special day.
So, so our Chancellor Fellow for Racial Equity and Social Justice she's doing this year for our identity graduations is each college president plans far ahead they select, the college president selects which graduation they want to hold. So they now have basically 6 months to a year to plan versus, starting planning 2 or 3 months out. So we'll probably be able to see a lot more of that quality experience in the graduations as we move forward.
Okay, not to, obviously. But I think I was comparing that individual experience that. Trying to get to that side. $1,000 extra. There's 70 this year, but like that's but I wonder, but like how we assess that type of scenario. Some people who do a lot of audiovisual.
That's the quality
Yeah.
of experience, but also try to determine what elements kind of led to that quality of experience. Was it how it's an equity issue, really, when you look at it, because if it comes down to finance and you're trying to make
Yeah,
the
it could be
cheapest
cultural though.
or
It's
just
college
not
culture.
planning, not sufficient planning time. It could be a number of issues, but if the idea is to focus on the quality of the experience for the students, then, you know, that's an access and equity issue.
I've done ELAC.
Mm.
Yeah.
Well, sometimes you can have a shorter graduation and still have the same experience. It's just in the planning.
Speak to that as a conversation. So that.
Yeah, but each college is so distinctive and each one has its own culture and the way they do things,
Yeah,
including graduation.
right.
I'm
In
just-
some campuses, you have almost 100% faculty participation, others they rotate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's the varying
we have-
experience of the student, the treatment,
Should be the
the respect for the student graduate. I'd like to say I haven't seen anything but the highest level of that. I don't believe it's a budget. Can we improve, of course? We always want to make that something memorable for them. So thank you. You elevated the conversation with us and our presidents, and there is planning time. They have a whole sequence of committees. They have resources. Not heard one president say, I need resources to do more.
Mhm.
I mean, we're all fully aware of how seminal this experience is, particularly for our first generation students.
Okay.
Thank you. And we'll keep this elevated. I assure you of that.
Okay.
Mhm.
And on finances, do you agree that we have enough here to deal with?
Yes.
And some of it is a continuation of what's
Okay.
here around hold harmless and all. There's not a whole lot different. And then go 3 on organizational effectiveness. The first thing we had here was accreditation, so we know we don't have to do that in the same way.
Right.
Because you don't have another visit for a while, but you always want people to keep accreditation on their minds.
And we'll mention one thing if I can interrupt. In order to receive approval for additional baccalaureate degrees, we have 4. Pierce College is positioned for 5. We do have to write in a substantive change to the accrediting commission. So I would expect us to fully do that as we move forward. There is no other district that has 4. And of course, we want more to provide the high quality, affordable experience again for our students. So I would keep, doesn't have to be a goal for the board, but know that we're working
Mhm.
as a matter of a practice in order for that, or else it can't be done.
Okay, and then 3.2 has to do with student housing again, unmet facilities needs. I think we've got that covered in your new list. And then the third one there on finances, effective reference to district's interests at local, state, and federal venues. Well, you have evidence, I think, that you did that. Advanced student access and success by supporting DEI and A throughout all levels. So that's one that really focused greatly on. And this is meeting with the legislators again. Great job there. And then the next one has to do with initiatives to strengthen administrative leadership and capacity. So we need to talk about this one maybe? It didn't come up on your list that we brainstormed at the beginning, yes.
If we're talking about last year, the chancellor hosted something at the UCLA Arrowhead Center with all of the VPs and above. I crashed the party for one of the days and just got to sit and listen to what they were kind of working on. And it was really beneficial, I think, for myself to kind of overhear some of the strategic planning that the presidents are doing, you know, for me to be mindful of, and just really excited to see the collaboration amongst the 9 campuses and the leadership, and just a lot of the goals that they had individually, and to look at how they work as individual campuses. So the president with their VPs and things like that, and then to come together. And I think we've seen a lot of that, right? Like the Valley, how the 3 of them have been hosting a lot of dual enrollment collaboration workshops and things like that. And I think there's been a lot more, from what I've seen, it seems like there's a lot of support for those folks, especially as we've been constantly hiring new presidents over time. And so I think hopefully they feel supported to do some great work, and it's a sustainable position for them to want to keep. I know, I think Chancellor, you also hosted something for the deans at
Yes,
UCLA.
it's
main
in the
campus?
report.
At ASU,
Yeah, oh, at ASU.
yeah, ASU.
So
LA Center.
I didn't get, oh, I should have crashed that one too, but I didn't. get to. You know, I think we definitely need to continue that, build strong leadership, and but I think it's a great start, because last
Yeah.
year was the first year, and then this year was the second.
For
The Arrowhead.
last year, yes, and
Yeah.
we just got back from that, and then as a result of that, planning this calendar year for a Dean's Academy to build capacity
Yeah.
amongst that layer.
Yeah, so it looks like that professional development piece is working well.
It is.
For me, it's always interesting how you move up the food chain, because there's oftentimes not that leadership component, right?
Mhm.
Unless you seek it out yourself. So the fact that our district is doing it to provide continuity and skill building, it's not easy to manage people, you know, and it's not always a natural thing. And so I think to build that in will hopefully help us support our students.
Okay, yes.
Dr. Roberto Gonzalez was an attendee. He's the vice president at West LA, sitting in for Dr. Limbaugh today. But, you know, I think you saw the intentionality of the work that we did last year and this year.
So, as I just mentioned, just talking about the leadership challenges that we face as things are changing, and how we can work together to make sure that we're addressing the needs of our students moving forward. So yeah, it's great to get us together, because we don't often do that. We don't have the time sometimes to do that. But we need to make the time.
Thank you.
Thank you for that.
So that seems to be, yes, trustee Buena. Okay. Right. So, and the next one had to do with, so we go, oh, human resources. The B part of that, concern about educational, education here at this building to start a staffing kind of study. So some work has been done in that area.
Yeah, there's continued growth, provide the staff and personnel, both in ADAYA and HR, for the important work that both those units are engaged in. So that's continuing, and we've seen some recent improvements in the areas of risk management, health benefits unit, be specific, and then of course the leadership of ADAYA.
Okay, comments on that one? Yes.
We had the report about 6 years of HR. Maybe if things have improved, then we can get an update on that. So that's been an ongoing challenge. And if it's improved,
It has.
let's identify that, let's identify the challenge.
Yes.
Then on that same note, do we need to do anything in regard to like the Personnel Commission? Because all of the reforms that we want to make in ODI and in HR, if you remember, Chancellor, a lot of like, especially with those investigator positions for Title IX, it was the Personnel Commission who decided to downgrade those positions and change the structure of those offices. So are you saying that that is now
It's been improved.
been improved?
Yeah.
Okay, so if we could have some, I mean, I do think we need a goal around the Personnel Commission, because a lot of times that's the hangup. You know, that's why we can't hire. Right, but they're not really under HR because they're totally separate. So if we're gonna talk about a report from HR, I want to include the Personnel Commission on that. I know they're a separate entity, but it has to be said.
Okay, I'm not sure of wording on that one, Chancellor.
Yeah,
Okay,
well, we're reviewing this more for 2024.
right,
So that's what I'm hearing.
okay.
Yeah, I would just, are we still gonna get an opportunity to Because I think what you're doing is you're saying, was this met comments? But then we're also adding what we want to do for 24, or are we gonna have a separate for goals?
We're gonna have a whole new document.
Okay, so this is not the 24 goals?
No, we're gonna bring you another document in the
Okay.
next week or
So
so.
just in the interest of time, I mean, I don't know if
We're
maybe,
almost done, yeah.
okay.
All right, so, really, seriously. All right, so if we go to 4, has to do with professional development activities, capacity, committed building capacity for effective governance. So the first thing was engaging individual trustee and board development activities. I know you did that. I saw you guys in different places. You're good on that one? Yeah. Revamp board training to include, we talked about your orientation last time, but you haven't had anybody new since we did this, so you didn't get to try that out. But you've done a lot of attending conferences. Accrediting commission stuff, that's B, you've done that. And your code of ethics, I think we looked at it and you had a training in August around that as well. Okay. And then activities that will strengthen board organization, communication, and implementation of a system to coordinate, prioritize requests. So we had, I think you talked a bit about.
Yeah, all of that got done.
Okay, good. All right. And then training session on board personal ethics, that was done. Outgoing board president will prepare, you're working on it.
Yeah.
Okay,
That's impressive.
that's in progress. So we've gone through all of these. So let's hit the, Chancellor, you want to just run through and see which ones, because we're almost done. I mean, I could write them tonight, I think, based on what I heard, but I want to make sure. So the one thing I want to get really clear here, you do not want a separate goal or objective on DEI, but you want it woven throughout each of the other points of emphasis. And then in the introduction, we're going to make the statement that there's not a separate DEI, a goal, but it's woven through the document. It's the thread that runs through all of your goals. If they look at every single goal and the activities, they'll see one in each one of those major areas on DEIA. Well, okay.
That's why I was.
Okay, all right.
What we'll be
What-
doing.
what
so
do you-
perhaps, depending upon what it is, it either becomes a new goal or.
So
maybe
what
fits in
are
with-
your two?
With one of these others.
That's why we did this. Come on.
So
Yeah, go ahead.
One would be, I would like to, as a goal, to give some type of look or input into the facilities that we're building. And how they are either or made.
Now, not the ones that are under construction,
No, the ones for the future.
the planned, ones that are planned, review planned facilities
The way
for, what are we looking for?
Um,
Okay.
I just have my comment on the DEIA thing.
Sure.
I think it is, I appreciate the idea that it's interwoven because I think sometimes the separate bullet point makes it more performative and less able to be implemented.
Mhm.
So I think if we identify that it's been a, past identifiable goal separate and that we've since implemented into actual actionable items, it feels more meaningful.
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean, well, that it's interwoven, right? Because otherwise, it's just like, look, we're doing, yeah, no, right, yeah. So just to validate that, the concept, I think it's.
Trustee Hoffman, then Trustee Boiler, and then I'll get back to your facilities. Oh, you can skip.
Yeah, I just want to sort of agree with what Trustee Eno said. There literally are districts in this state that have like don't have DEIA goals and will not have DEIA goals. So I think it's really important, especially for the community, anybody who's considering coming to LACCD, that we have some kind of guiding, maybe a guiding principle around our goals that's stated very clearly. Because I think that's really important for prospective students and anybody else who is looking at our district to become involved, to become employed, you know, to become a student, to get
Okay.
services.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so what I have here is for us to look over our facilities plans in order to enhance the student experience. And so I'll leave it, it's very broad, and that's fine. And I'll, as Chair Flimpog, I'll discuss that with the president. But one of the things that I did want to bring up, which could be controversial, and I'm never controversial, but in this case I might be. I do feel that we need to work with the chancellor to have him have the freedom to kind of, and us give him emphasis for the district to improve its housekeeping. And what I mean by that is we talk about HR, we talk about all these divisions within this building that need improvement. But I didn't see last year that that would be one of our goals, to help the chancellor start to clean up and improve the operation. I think we were piecemealing direction, but I don't think we ever gave him the support to say, hey, you know what, this is a goal of ours. We want you to have support, resources. You know, we talk about who do we hire. You know, for example, we were able to, but it should be also us checking in on the chancellor as a board goal to see if there's, if there's, you know, efficiency, if there's, because I just saw way too, last year as board president, I just saw way too piecemeal, like missiles firing from each trustee, like, we need to improve this on this, we need to improve this. And I agree completely that HR needs to be done better. Risk management, I get it. But I felt that that wasn't something we conveyed to the chancellor that we could do this year. Hey, we want, you know, the district's operation to be improved at all levels. And the reason I mention that is because we didn't have that kind of emphasis last year as a goal, nor did we put it on the chancellor's goal. And I think that some of the criticism that's out there in the community on the board is that we are messy when it comes to our internal district operations. And again, I'm not saying it's anyone's fault, but I would like for the board to have that as a goal to, you know, but also give the chancellor the freedom to be able to like report, hey, we were doing, because right now the chancellor mentioned literally we're improving in HR. I don't know if you just heard that. Well, shouldn't it be everything? And shouldn't we start to reflect on our, by the way, completely not micromanaging. I don't want to know anything except, are we improving? What are the metrics? And how can we support you more?
So does that mirror, Trustee Bueno, what you were saying about internal structures?
Currently survive.
So, Dr. Benjamin, so in my conversations with the chancellor, as we start talking about this, was that we start to prioritize like HR, IT, risk management, make sure that they're fully staffed, effective, that they have the resources that they need. So we also allow, you know, once we come up with our goals, the chancellor comes up with his goals and we kind of combine those. So that was going to be one of his goals that he was going to put forth.
And I don't even want to get that specific.
No, I mean, but I'm saying in terms of what he and I discussed, that was going to be one of his goals that he presented. So in terms of reporting back to us, doesn't necessarily have to be detailed, but he was making that
So how do we put it to
one of his goals.
I was just putting something like work closely with the chancellor.
To improve internal operations?
Does that work for you?
And then on his end, he's doing the dirty work.
Yeah. I just want to say that I do not want to micromanage here at all. I just want to support the chancellor to be able to come up with ways to improve our operation. That's it.
Okay,
Does
here's,
that only
here's
include
a hard
support?
question. So how does that look?
Like, for example, like, I hate to say it, but like, I really cringed or I was afraid to call special board meetings because a lot of my trustee colleagues, they're busy. I don't want to be a pain, but I could have done more committee of the wholes to explain what was going on in HR or workforce, but I've always felt like, man, I'm gonna bug them again because we have so many meetings.
Mhm.
So how do we do it? Well, maybe we listen more to the chancellor. Maybe we read his reports. Maybe we indulge him with 4 extra special meetings for a year because we don't do that a lot. We're here on the board meeting, our committees, and that's a lot of meetings.
Yes.
So I think affording just attention would be good to these issues. That's it.
Okay, so maybe we need to take a 5-minute break. I have worked you, I'll just keep working. So I mean, 5 minutes. Okay. And a real 5 minutes,
Like
but I'll
literal 5
I'll
minutes.
set my clock for 5 and expect you back in 7.
You're gonna expect us back in 5 minutes, 30 seconds. And just clap. break is over. Wait.
I think like that is for like Ruben or whatever. Ruben, like you've got to build these units, so you better be holding your developers accountable if they've got to make it happen.
Yes.
Um, Can I make one tiny suggestion? It's a big suggestion, actually, because you know what? It's actually something that we've been talking about, and I think we've all mentioned it. I really, it's actually a big suggestion, and I think because we had so much on there, and we obviously feel like everything is important, but we do need to bring back the training and sexual harassment training. I think that needs to be listed in a goal. Would you guys agree? And I mean, I know we didn't tag it, but if we could have 5 goals, huh? Well, I know, I think that we got like caught up in like, you know, I'm not lobbying, I'm just saying, we all talked about it. Okay,
We are going to engage in this as a district.
Yes.
Or consider it as a goal if you'd like, but we are moving forward in this area.
I want to support Ms. Hoffman and put it under, again, that's why I mentioned improving internal operations, work with the chancellor.
That was gonna
because
be my
that is
comment.
definitely part of it. So.
Can I make a suggestion though? On the break, Trustee Vella and I were talking. We have 4 standing committees. Is it possible that some of these goals could be in general here, but they become a goal for that particular?
That a committee works on that
That
particular
committee
thing.
is
That could be
focused on
part of it, I
That
think.
isn't necessarily
Chancellor,
a
would you?
goal, and that way they.
Yeah, and so we could have another column that says board committee. Or
Right, and then
something, yeah.
that way we have a little more space
Yeah.
to address these.
Yeah,
goals.
that is, thank you. Mm-hmm. Uh-huh.
Not part of our, we have external financial audit. Our internal audit organization is fine in terms of functioning. So we're told, okay, sexual harassment training is going to happen. We don't know how or when, right? This is the initial here.
So let me ask you, on this one that has to do with professional development, training, sexual harassment, all these different things, is there, which committee would get this?
Well, this is coming out of the chancellor's office for the board's direction.
Question is, how do you accomplish so that it is documented, so we come back in August and we've seen a difference that we're not there to go to what Trustee Bella was saying, the organization functionality, that does come to the chancellor's office to document
Okay,
exactly what is occurring or not occurring in order for us to know. And some of the stuff is not going to be pretty. However, it's either not pretty in a report or it's not pretty in some lawsuit.
since we have fewer than we had the last time, that maybe Chancellor, when we work on writing this up, we could be more specific about the actions.
President
And if
Henderson,
you-
I have a suggestion.
Okay,
So I don't know if we practice in having a semi or an annual report for the district. I'm not sure. I know we have a state of the district, which is not appropriate to discuss
You mean a report to the trustees?
to the trustees. The state of the district is definitely to let us know how the district is doing
But that's district-wide.
district-wide. What we can do is engage in a semi or an annual report to the trustees on the district and its departments. And I can tell you that that's the actual appropriate venue in agency government for the chancellor to be able to discuss it in written, if he would like. Because I think what's happening is, again, as I mentioned last year, we did various improvements, but we were kind of piecemealing it. And I wasn't able to secure a lot of committee of the whole or special meetings to brief on people. And so I was kind of sending memos through the chancellor. But I think that, again, an appropriate way, and I don't know even know if we should call it annual report. I don't care what we call it, but I do think that there needs to be, and I know we have, for example, quarterly reports on budget, amazing, but I think that and again, I don't want to belittle trustees' request to have constant updates on like how we're doing on a, for example, chancellor board goal that is, very important to us, like sexual harassment training. However, as a whole, how healthy the district is, I think it would be appropriate to have some type of, kind of annual and semi-annual report where we look at the full, enchilada, as well, again, of having separate, again, updates on very important things that the chancellor and the board agree are important, like, again.
but a report, something like this on the goals is not
No.
sufficient?
Well,
Just on the goals, on your goals?
Well, we're a big district enough for that the chancellor can compile from each of his departments on what their.
So
health-
this is a huge report beyond the goals that you're
Well,
talking
that's-
about.
That's what I'm trying to say. It's not a big report as much as it is a compilation of all of the district offices, divisions and because I think one of the things we're missing here, this year, I don't know if you noticed last year, we introduced, the chancellor came to each board meeting and introduced like the new heads of this department, that department. And it was to introduce the board to the, let's say, for example, the department that was handling, what was it at the last board meeting you introduced?
It was the procurement.
The procurement, yeah.
Mhm.
We don't always have to, but it would be helpful for someone to produce to us, the district, the board of trustees, a separate kind of document that doesn't, for example, detail from day one what it does, but what the board and chancellor goals are to improve. So for example, I'm hearing today personnel commission needs to be improved. That doesn't have to come directly from the chancellor every week to one trustee. It could be placed in a bigger, broader kind of document that just shows this is what we're doing in the personnel commission this year as an improvement, or these are the changes. Because I feel that every single component at the district office needs some assistance to, and we need to help the chancellor improve the operations. But
Yes.
again, I'm not saying we should do an annual report. I'm not saying that, but I've seen in other agencies,
Mhm.
that's the appropriate way, not the
Yes.
state of the district.
And the way that that has to work is that the trustees have to read it.
Not even
That's the
like-
whole,
Yeah.
I'm just saying,
Like that.
if somebody goes to all the trouble to give you stuff you say you want in a meeting like this, there has to be the obligation to read it. You have to read it. It's a lot of work to do that. And I'm supporting doing it. I mean, I'm not saying you shouldn't, but if you're doing it and you have no audience, what is the purpose? I am not saying you don't read either. I'm just saying that that has to be that, and it's a lot of stuff. I mean, you get a board report. Do you read everything in that board doc every time you get it? Yeah, it's just a lot, and you're putting more on yourself. You just have to remember that too. So you don't want to just create exercises.
Right. Trustee Foreman.
You know, one thing that, and maybe it's just, included in it, we're hired by the public, and that may seem
Right.
Pollyannish. But if we were a corporation, we would have shareholders, but we're a public entity hired by shareholders, the public. You know, so what I think we should ultimately evolve into is a report that gives the public the information necessary to truly understand where the district is.
Mhm.
That's not, because sometimes you'll have shareholder reports that have information that's not so pretty. Well, that
Right.
encourages the board to work on it, you know,
Mhm.
or it says you're either doing good or that. So ultimately, we should figure out what our employer, the public, what is in their interest in order to make the institution better. And I'm saying that kind of maybe to piggyback on what's being said in terms of what eventually we want to move into.
Yes, and it goes back to your fiduciary responsibility as the representative of the public. Because all the people who vote you in are eligible voters in LA County. Don't watch this. They've elected you. As a fiduciary, you're standing in their place.
But
And,
also.
and you read that stuff. You have the responsibility, to do the checking for them.
I think that, maybe I'm lost in translation, but I'm not asking for a new document. I'm not asking for extra work. I'm just saying that the work is getting done. The chancellor's monthly reports have a lot of information, but I would not want him to talk about improvements in HR or workforce. I'm sorry, risk management that are sensitive, right?
Mhm.
I don't know if, I do agree with Gabriel that, like in the county, we had an annual report and it talked about animal care control has improved. They've hired 97 people, and the public has access to that. That's appropriate.
Mhm.
That's all I'm getting at. That
Yeah,
I think
and I'm in agreement. I'm not
Well,
trying to argue with you at all.
But one of the things that I think, and again, because of the size of who we are, there are colleges and college districts that have 7 members that have 1 college. And it's very easy for them to understand, like I've talked to my colleagues and trustees, and they have a very good understanding of the district office because it is the college and the district office where we're different. So for us to request an overall kind of like update on each of our departments and what's going on, procurement. And by the way, I want to thank you on that because I had no clue what procurement, who they were, right? But I think that's a lot more work to come each week or each month with a new presentation on a new division and who's hired there and where there could just be one compilation. He could just take his monthly report, combine it all in one for a year, and this is the improvements we're doing in HR, and call it a day versus, because I think what's going to be hard for President Henderson is to convey to the board that such improvements are being made or not. And of course, my colleagues hold me accountable, but I wish I would have had a way to just give them a kind of more of a holistic view, not just one department, procurement, workforce. That was kind of where I was getting at.
Okay.
But I certainly don't think we're ready to do that tomorrow. But I think that to have, like, when I see, and by the way, we had org chart reviews in the past that are very helpful, that we go through with the chancellor. And I think we haven't done that in a while. So that's it. I just want to leave it at that.
Okay. Okay, so from my end on board goals, then I'll work with the president and Vice President and Chancellor in finalizing those and getting a draft to you in the next 10 days. You're welcome. Oh, no, thank you. You guys are great. Really great today.
Just as a matter of path forward, once the iterative process occurs, reviewed, and there's comfort with stating the goals, the objectives, the timelines, the responsible units, et cetera, or whether it's referred to another committee, ad hoc committee, an advisory committee, et cetera, it is adopted formally in in the board meeting. So at this point, it will probably be, first review would be in February, and then the final will be first meeting in March. Then we'll continue. So just that's the path forward once we get start to put this together.
Yeah,
But
that's good.
these are all things that are well within the reach and capacity of the organization. It's a matter of organizing it well
Mhm.
and then resourcing it well so we can get these things done this year.
Okay. Yeah. So, thank you.
Thank you. You guys
Dr.
really
Benjamin.
participated. It was wonderful. Enjoyed it.
As usual, you kind of herded this group of cats and help us organize our thoughts. So we've got a few extra minutes in our day before our committee meetings begin. So we look forward to having you, to working with you to finalize these. Any other comments, trustees, or questions for Dr. Benjamin before we adjourn? All righty then. Well, again, meeting adjourns, if there's no objection. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.